like we never left. It's Double Move Sports. I'm Stef Albiero. I'm here with the fantasy phenom, my guy, wheeling and dealing in Dynasty leagues right now, making these deals, acquiring picks, selling off picks, getting 2022 picks. We got a hell of a show lined up. You ready for it, Alex?
Yeah, man. The Dynasty offseason never sleeps, and we're getting one last push here for some of these rookies. We have a lot of good stuff on late round rookies. I know we've covered round one guys, round two guys, and some of these rookie startup drafts, things like that. We've even broken down, our rankings at running back, receiver, quarterback. Today, we're getting into some deeper names, some deeper rounds. So we're going to have good stuff on late round strategy and rookie drafts, some sleepers, and then just some other really, really hot topics for these guys before the NFL draft, which is 2 weeks from the time of this recording. So couldn't be more excited to get into these topics today. It's going to be great. It's
creeping up so quick. And then we're going to have this influx of just nonstop things to talk about after this draft.
Heck yeah.
And I can't wait to make fun of the Raiders when they waste a first round pick.
Man.
But let's get into the late round rookie pick strategy. We're entering into these rookie drafts. I know some people have already drafted. The real hardcore fantasy players have already made
psychos
their selections in these rookie drafts. But for most of us, we're making our selections a couple weeks, maybe a month or two after the NFL draft when we do know these landing spots. But a question came up in the Discord, which if you guys want to join leagues with us, hang out. I know everybody and their mother has a Discord that they're plugging these days. We have ours. I think it's the best. And there's not too many of us in there right now. So it's a tight-knit group. It's an intimate group. You want to post your roster, post your trades. We will dive into that. And I can't wait to get some NFL draft hype going in there. But for these late-round rookie pick strategies, we've talked about who all the top prospects are, guys that we like at ADP, guys that we don't like. Alex, what should we be doing with these late second, these third-round rookie picks in our drafts?
Yeah, this is a great question because a lot of people don't value these picks when in reality there's a lot of value to be had if you can hit on some of the right players. And obviously the hit rate's going to be low as you get to the back of round 2, into round 3, even into round 4. And these are the kind of picks that we're going to be talking about here. And to me, there's 2 things I look for. One, I want to take gambles on the unknown, which when you're getting into round 3, when you're getting into round 4, just about every player is going to have some sort of red flag. But I'm looking for guys that one of the red flags is, we didn't have a sample size, or, we didn't see enough from him in college, because those are the guys that's like, hey, maybe even with a small sample size, what we saw could translate to the next level in a positive way. But the second thing is, and the big thing, I want to think 2 steps ahead in terms of opportunity. And what I mean by that is when you get this late in drafts, there are going to be no sure things. So I want to see where there is going to be potential opportunity on the board. Because to me, you can't make an impact if you're not on the field. Tyler Johnson is a perfect example of this right now. I know, it's disappointing to you, Steph, because you love Tyler Johnson as a prospect. I love the talent, but he's just buried on that Tampa Bay depth chart. So from a dynasty perspective, that's a tough situation because he just can't get on the field enough to make an impact. So I want to look at guys that are going to go to a good landing spot. And obviously right now before the draft, we're not going to know this. But after the NFL draft, take a deep dive and look at some of these situations. James Robinson was a perfect example last season. I was well documented, fortunately, saying that Leonard Fournette was going to get cut from the Jacksonville Jaguars. I really think there's a good chance Leonard Fournette gets cut or traded before the season. There's been trade rumors about Fournette all offseason, and it doesn't seem like they could find a trade partner, but that could change as we get into camp. And Jacksonville declined his 5th-year option. I mean, this guy was a first-round pick, and he's been fairly successful for the Jaguars, but there's no reason for them to keep him around. They're rebuilding. He's a veteran running back who's going to be looking for a second contract. I don't think Jacksonville's going to be willing to pay that. So I really don't know that he's going to be on this team. Keep an eye out. That was kind of a hot take at the time, but thinking 2 steps ahead, I said, okay, there's going to be a Jacksonville Jaguars running back opportunity available. Unfortunately, I put my eggs in the wrong basket, and I went with Raquel Armstead, who unfortunately had some COVID issues that kept him off the field. But if I would have put those eggs in the James Robinson basket, that was one of those situations where you're thinking 2 steps ahead. Okay, no one else is seeing Fournette getting cut. No one else is reading, into the salary cap crunch issues or seeing that writing on the wall. But if you would have seen that coming, if you would have picked up James Robinson, that would have been a fantastic opportunity on a guy late in drafts. Another example is Quintez Cephas. And this is one where we haven't really see it play out yet. But with Quintez Cephas, last season, 5th round pick, wide receiver on the Detroit Lions, you say, okay, next offseason, Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones, Danny Amendola, their top 3 wide receivers are all going to be set to be free agents. Now, Quintez Cephas comes in as a rookie. Maybe we don't expect him to get a lot of opportunity year 1, but looking into year 2, maybe he can get on the field. And sure enough, we saw him get some opportunity last season as a rookie with Kenny Golladay missing some time. He made some good plays. Now all 3 of those guys have departed from Detroit, and it looks like he's going to have a much better opportunity to see the field this season. Now that could all backfire if they draft, a Devontae Smith in the first round of the NFL draft. I do think they'll draft somebody. But when you look at a guy like Cephas, he's potentially going to be competing with Brashad Perriman and Tyrell Williams for snaps instead of Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones. So that's a guy where I'm like, hey, I'm going to take the upside because if he can get on the field, maybe he can prove something and make something happen. So that to me is the biggest thing I'm looking for in these late round picks. And a lot, you have to follow talent. Talent always comes number 1. We see guys get on the field all the time that suck and they give it away. But if you can't get on the field, you can't make an impact from a fantasy perspective. So you just kind of have to, after the NFL draft, after we see landing spots, look at those situations where guys could potentially get an opportunity.
And these late round flyers, these late round picks, it can really be an arbitrage play in these dynasty leagues where you take a flyer on a guy in the 3rd round. Let's just use Quintez Cephas as the example. You could probably sell him right now for more than you paid for him and just move up in the draft over time.
Sure.
Whether it's acquiring a larger volume of picks so you have more dart throws in those late rounds, or if it's just moving up in the draft for the next year, that's still where you can acquire and accrue value on your roster. And to me, it's always you got to take the most known values in round 1. And that even means taking the best player available. I saw someone slide into our Twitter DMs. They said, and hit us up, guys, at Double Move Sport on Twitter. They asked if they should take Javonte Williams over Jamar Chase since they need a running back. And in a situation, I would not do that because I want to make sure that first round pick hits. I can move Chase because he's that much more likely to hit based on his profile. Go check out the videos that we've already talked about all these prospects in detail. I don't want to continue beating a dead horse with how good Jamar Chase is and how safe of a prospect he is. But he's much safer than Javonte Williams. So there's no way that I would take Javonte Williams over Jamar Chase. Even if I do need a running back. Either I'm going to try to trade back or I'm just going to take Jamar Chase and when he hits, try to move him for a guy who's already a little bit more proven than Javonte Williams, who has already hit later on in the season, to a team that needs Jamar Chase and is willing to pay up for him. There's other ways you can find running backs without the opportunity cost of missing out on one of the most surefire prospects in this draft that we know is going to get the draft capital. And then when it comes to round 2, the philosophy should be swing for the fences, just like you named it. Shoot for the stars. We come up with our rankings. Again, those are posted in the Discord. Got the first 3 rounds of our Superflex rookie rankings in there. After Kyle Pitts, after the first 4 or 5 wide receivers, after the first 3 or 4 running backs, after the big 5 QBs, every prospect has red flags, has potentially really low floors, whether it's guys that are lacking the size, like Dami Brown, guys that are lacking the speed, like Amon-Ra St. Brown, or guys that are lacking the production, which I'll probably trigger some people with this one, Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle doesn't have the production resume of a lot of these other prospects. So when you're in that second round, start shooting for the stars. The deeper you get into the second round, the more aggressive you should be. And these guys are so landing spot dependent. I mean, the hit rate of a second round rookie based on historical ADPs is 18%. So to me, it's all about upside and roster construction, and have fun with it, man. If you like the 6'4" athletic alpha X receiver, go with a Nico Collins or a Seth Williams. If you like the Tyreek Hill burner type guys, go with the Kadarius Toney, go with the Dami Brown. If you're a running back desperate team, take a shot on Trey Sermon, a Michael Carter. And we'll talk about some of the other deeper quarterback names, but there's always going to be a Kellen Mond, a Kyle Trask in that late second, early third range. So you can take gambles on these guys, and if they hit, move them for value, or who knows, maybe they pan out, and you're sitting there with a James Robinson on your hands.
No, yeah, Steph, I agree with you 100%. I mean, you have to shoot for the stars, and back to my earlier point, too, about thinking 2 steps ahead, sometimes a landing spot that might seem bad on the surface isn't all that bad, because if you get into round 3, you get into round 4, you have to look at situations that are like one play away, one player away from giving someone an extreme opportunity. And what I mean by that is think about a running back, think about an Elijah Mitchell. If Elijah Mitchell goes to, we'll make this up, the Cincinnati Bengals, yes, he's not going to have value as everything stands with everybody healthy behind Joe Mixon. But when you think about that situation, he is one play away, God forbid injuries, of course, but he is one Joe Mixon not being on the field in a given week away from being the only reasonable running back that the Cincinnati Bengals have and potentially a workhorse for a given amount of time. You think about a quarterback. If a quarterback goes to Pittsburgh and in the 3rd round, a Kellen Mond goes to Pittsburgh and something happens to Big Ben in week 4, God forbid that happens. We never root for injuries, but stuff does happen. Kellen Mond, a mobile quarterback, is now the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers with a great group of weapons around him. Those are the situations where it's like all or nothing. Either A, something's going to happen and they're going to get a great opportunity and have the potential to give you tremendous value, or B, they're never going to see the field. And I would almost rather take that in round 3, in round 4, even picking guys up off waivers after the draft, than I would have a 3rd round running back go to, Houston, where he's going to be battling with Phillip Lindsay and David Johnson and Mark Ingram. Ugh. And even if something happens to one or two of those guys, like it's still always going to be a split backfield. I think I would rather take the all or nothing situations, and you'll quickly know after, 1-2 years, move on from them, than have a guy go into some murky situation. And even if everything breaks his way, he's still just splitting time with somebody else.
Yeah, this is why I have a lot of Anthony McFarland shares. This is why Antonio Gibson was the guy to get in the 3rd round last season. Taking these upside shots, you can see how it can potentially play out. There are no safe bets. In the 3rd round, it's like a 2% hit rate. More than likely, you're going to miss on that pick. And when I say hit rate, I'm talking multiple top 24 fantasy seasons. But even if they get close there once, you can flip that player for a more safer, proven commodity that can fit into your roster. But let's talk about, and we're talking about these deep prospects. You're in the 3rd, maybe even the 4th, 5th round in these Superflex rookie drafts. Alex, I'm curious for you, when it comes to sleepers, I mean, there's really no utility in like doing a deep dive into every single prospect in this range, because probably none of them are going to hit. But for a lot of folks, myself included, you're kind of stuck with these picks. Nobody's paying up for a 4th round or a late 3rd round pick in your league. So if you're sitting there in that scenario, you're like, well, I have this pick. I might as well take a shot on somebody. Who do you have your eye on in, let's say, the 3rd round or later in Superflex?
I'll start out with one that, okay, right now his ADP is in the 3rd round. I actually think if he gets the draft capital on day 2 that I expect, he could end up sliding into the back of the 2nd. So I will preface that first, but it's Kellen Mond, quarterback from Texas A&M, a guy we've already mentioned a couple times here. And Kellen Mond, to me, is a perfect upside quarterback. He's 6'3", 211 pounds. I mean, he's built like a wide receiver. He's a mobile quarterback, which means a lot of the red flags he has, which is his arm talent, his accuracy, some of his passing production in college, isn't as big of a deal because he can fall back on his legs, kind of like we saw Jalen Hurts do last season. But Kellen Mond is a dual threat quarterback that gives you that rushing upside that you want in a potential top 5, top 8 fantasy football quarterback. He ran a 4.62 40-yard dash at his pro day. In his college career, he averaged 35 rushing yards a game, ran for 22 career touchdowns. So as far as his mobility goes, he's almost like a Dak Prescott plus with his legs. He does have work to do as a passer, and that's why I think he is going to go day 2, might be the back of day 2 in round 3. We'll see if he can get drafted in the second round, but he had a 59% career completion percentage at Texas A&M, which I know is a little bit of a red flag, but he does have a strong arm. He can make a lot of different throws, has arm talent, and he improved each year in college. That's what we want to see. In his last season at Texas A&M, 19 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, 63.3% completion percentage, which still isn't good, but we saw progression from his freshman year to his last season in 2020. So I do expect him to be a middle round pick, but there are tons of landing spots that could be great for Kellen Mond. Think about an Atlanta, a Pittsburgh, even a Denver.
Chicago, Washington.
Yeah, Chicago, Washington, absolutely. Like Atlanta and Pittsburgh might be perfect because he's not going to be thrust into that role right away. He can continue to learn from a great quarterback, whether it's Big Ben or Matt Ryan, develop his game and see if he can get it done after they retire. But if it's a Chicago, a Washington, or a Denver, who knows? He could find himself in a quarterback competition if he impresses in training camp or gets an opportunity in his rookie season. So I think his value could be crushed if he's drafted to like a clear backup destination. Like if he's drafted to like a Seattle in the 4th round, obviously not interested. If he's drafted to one of those places where he's going to be the clear backup to a quarterback that still has 5, 6, 7 years left, don't like him as much as a sleeper. But if he goes somewhere where there is some potential avenue to being the starting quarterback in the next 1 to 2 seasons, man, I'm all in on taking Kellen Mond in the 3rd round if he's there. And the thing is, we have seen middle round quarterbacks that are mobile have success in the past. We saw Dak Prescott as a 4th round pick, a 62% career college completion percentage hit. Dak Prescott, top 5 fantasy football quarterback now in Dynasty, and he made the most of his opportunity with an aging quarterback that got hurt. A similar situation to if Mond went to Atlanta or Pittsburgh. We saw the same thing with Russell Wilson, a 3rd round pick, 61% college career completion percentage. Ooh. And we saw him go to a dicey situation where Matt Flynn was supposed to be the starter in Seattle, but Russell Wilson straight up beat him out in camp. So if Mond goes to a Chicago, to a Denver, who knows? Maybe he comes in and impresses, ends up as the starter there. We've also seen, Jalen Hurts do the same, was a 2nd rounder last season.
Gardner Minshew, 6th round pick.
Getting opportunity as a rookie. Yeah, Gardner Minshew, 6th round pick. So there are plenty of these mobile quarterbacks that go in the middle rounds that have found their way to being an NFL starter, whether it be by injury or, a questionable quarterback room in front of them. So if Kellen Mond gets draft capital to a team that's intriguing and there is potential for him to get that opportunity on the field, I think in the right situation, his playmaking ability could make him a real fantasy football asset. So he is someone I'm definitely keeping my eye on draft day. And if he goes to one of those situations and it's not clear cut that he's going to come in and be the starter and everyone else in my league is sleeping on him, man, I'm taking him easily in the 3rd round of drafts.
Nice. Yeah, Mond's fun. He's a fun prospect. And I want to get into a guy that I've had circled. I've like fallen in love with this guy the more that I've looked into him because he's like weird. But he has like the measurable, he's so exciting. It's Simi Fehoko out of Stanford. He's a wide receiver. And in some of the, like on Sleeper, he's not even in there. Like I couldn't even find his name when I was putting together the rookie rankings. But if this guy's available in the 4th, auto pick for me because he's 6'4", 222 pounds. He fits the Cortland Sutton, Alshon Jeffrey type of mold. He ran a 4.49 combine adjusted 40 time that was 4.44 at the pro day.
That's great.
So that's a 95th percentile speed score. So for a guy who's 6'4", 220 to run that fast, he's an early declare. But the problem, the thing that's holding him back and why he's not getting the hype is that he has a late breakout age. And he's already 23 years old. And the reason for that, off of Stanford's website. So I'm in here, I'm doing the recon. I'm going to these college sites to read the bios on these players. That's why you come to this. This is why you listen to Double Move Sports. Is so that you can find out that Simi Fehoko served a 2-year Mormon mission in Seoul, South Korea, and came in as a freshman at Stanford at 20 years old.
Wow.
So we can look at other guys in this situation. Kadarius Toney's one of those this year. A guy who was late to the position, was a Wildcat quarterback coming out. We could look at Chase Claypool. Kid was from Canada. Didn't start playing until I think his junior year in high school. So Simi Fehoko is another guy just like that. And he came in as a 20-year-old freshman. Probably hadn't played football in a long time. He didn't do much. But then his sophomore season absolutely broke out. The thing is, though, he didn't command a huge target share, but was super efficient. Alex, these are video game numbers from Fehoko's sophomore year. He had only 24 catches, but was second in the country with 23.6 yards per reception. He had 566 yards on 24 receptions. Extrapolating that out, this guy needed 40 receptions to have a 1,000-yard season. Like, that never happens. That's absolutely nuts. And then he had a 25% touchdown rate, had 6 touchdowns in those 24 receptions. And then as a junior, Fehoko took over the wide receiver 1 role, commanded a fantastic 26.6% target share. And in a shortened Pac-12 season, he only played 6 games, but was on pace to have a full season stat line of 80 receptions, 1,265 yards, 6.5 touchdowns. So, yes, the age-adjusted target share is a big deal for wide receivers, but there were other contextual reasons why Simi Fehoko did not get the target share that he should have gotten. If this guy was 18 as a freshman, he'd be getting so much more hype right now, would be in the same range as guys like Seth Williams, like Nico Collins, early 3rd round. Instant smash for me. Love Simi Fehoko.
I like it. And this goes back to our conversation about what we look for in these late round strategies. It's like, look for the unknown. And this is a perfect example of take a shot on the unknown. This is a guy, when we saw him on the field, was fantastic, but we just don't have the early breakout age. And clearly you laid out the reason for that. And we just don't have the sample size. And it's like, yeah, because he hadn't played football in 2 years, he finally started getting worked up in the offense, and then it was a COVID year. So that's why the sample size isn't there. Who knows, if we did see the full sample size, Fehoko could have been one of these guys we're talking about in the early 2nd round. He could have been in all of our top 10 rankings. We just didn't get to see it. So I love taking a shot on a guy like Fehoko. And Steph, I'm going to go just as deep. I don't want to say deeper because that was a pretty deep name, but I'm going to go just as deep as Fehoko and go with his college quarterback, Davis Mills, out of Stanford. Who knows? Maybe in the 4th round you can get that Stanford stack on your Dynasty.
I've never even heard of this guy, dude.
Davis Mills, quarterback out of Stanford. I will admit that I don't know. You might be able to pick him up late 4th rounder on waivers after your draft. He's a 1 to 2 year project to me, but he has upside because of some of the intangibles that he has with his size, with his arm strength and talent. He didn't put up eye-popping numbers at Stanford, but he has some of those quarterback traits that you look for. He's 6'4", 225. That's Andrew Luck size. And he's out of Stanford. Not comping him to Andrew Luck, but he's built the same way. He has the ability to roll out and run if he needs to. Ran a 4.82 40-yard dash. Not a blazing time, but for a 6'4", 225 guy, I mean, a 4.82 is not bad. Josh Allen, for context, ran a 4.75. So just a little bit slower than Josh Allen. And at Stanford, here is stats. Similar situation to Fehoko in the sense that he only started 13 games over the past 2 seasons. But in that span, 3,468 yards, 18 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. So not lighting the world on fire, but definitely, solid numbers at Stanford. And I could actually see him moving up in some of these super flex mock drafts if he gets draft capital. I am seeing a lot of rumors right now that Davis Mills could go to some of the landing spots we talked about for Kellen Mond. He could go to a Pittsburgh. He could go to a Chicago or a Washington or even in Atlanta as early as day 2. So if Davis Mills, a prototypical size, I'm telling you, look out for it. I think he could go on day 2. So Davis Mills, a prototypical size, strength, arm talent, NFL quarterback with the ability to be mobile from Stanford with decent college production. goes to one of these spots where he doesn't have to be a starting quarterback right off the bat, who knows? We could see him by matter of circumstance get an opportunity. I will admit, I don't know if I'm all in on the talent because, again, he's a developmental guy. So I don't know how he's going to develop. So if he does get that opportunity, I can't tell you he is going to come out and be good, but I can tell you there's a chance. And like we talked about earlier, when we're drafting late round rookies, we go for that upside. So if there's a chance Davis Mills could come out and be a starting quarterback in the league one day, I'm going to take a shot on it in the 4th round. So that's kind of the case for Davis Mills. We'll see where he goes in drafts. I do think draft capital is going to be important, and landing spot's going to be important for this guy, but he's someone to keep an eye on for sure.
Interesting. I had not heard much hype on Davis Mills. If he goes day 2, I want to be eating my words because that's crazy. And those guys historically don't hit. But if you're going to take a shot, why not, right? Don't waste a pick like that on a Jordan Love last year.
Right.
If you're going to take a shot like that, do it in the 4th.
Yeah, do it in the 4th. Don't do it in the 1st because we've seen it happen before. We've seen, a Kirk Cousins go in the middle rounds, get an opportunity. People didn't know what he was going to be as an NFL talent, and he ended up being a solid fantasy football quarterback for a long period of time. And with a guy like Davis Mills, that's kind of the upside you're looking at. I don't think he has the upside to be a top 3 guy. But if you're in the 4th round of your rookie draft and you hit a diamond in the rough and you get a guy who's going to be a starter in the NFL for 5-6 years, that's fantastic. So that's kind of the upside for Davis Mills. I know sometimes it doesn't always work out, and that's why we're talking about these low hit rates in round 3 and 4. Jacob Eason, similar, big NFL size, has some development work to do, just never an opportunity. And he's one of those guys, who knows, if he got the opportunity, maybe he would be good. But most of these guys don't even get the chance. So Davis Mills is kind of in that same category. And I know I would love to see him at least get the chance to get some playing time at the NFL level and see what he can do.
Fantasy is crazy because I feel like if the Colts weren't in kind of like a win now mode like they are right now, I feel like they would give Jacob Eason a shot.
Sure.
As opposed to going out and signing Carson Wentz and taking on that huge contract. It's like, let's just see what this rookie's got. We saw it with Gardner Minshew in Jacksonville. But let me talk about another guy, last one here of our rookie sleepers. It's Javian Hawkins, running back out of our alma mater, the University of Louisville. He is a 5'9", 183-pound back. He ran a 4.46 pro day, 4.51 combine adjusted time. Not the craziest measurables you've ever seen, but I think he will have a chance to play a scat back role for a team, a J.D. McKissick, Nyheim Hines, Chase Edmonds type of role. And once you're in the 4th round, this is at least a guy who could have some sort of floor in the right landing spot. He didn't really play freshman year, then went absolutely bananas at age 20 as a sophomore, had 264 carries for just over 1,500 yards, 9 touchdowns, and then had 4 receptions for over 14 yards per reception. And then in 2020, as a junior, was on pace in 8 games for over 1,300 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns, 26 receptions, another 200 yards through the air. The missing piece, because this guy has been super efficient on the ground and through the air, the missing piece for Javian Hawkins, obviously it's the size, but the reason he's not closer to like a Kenny Gainwell is that for the role that he's probably going to play at the NFL level, he didn't show a ton through the air. He didn't produce a monster target share. And as a Louisville fan, I've watched our team. Our passing game has been mediocre at best.
That's generous.
We've had run. It's been absolutely brutal. We've had a run-first quarterback. We've had a brutal offensive line. But Hawkins, believe it or not, this is I heard this on another podcast. Shout out to Ryan Lopes. He shouted this out, was digging into the player bios on the website. If you go to University of Louisville's roster at gocards.com,
man,
you can see that Javian Hawkins actually played a slot wide receiver role and return kicks in high school. So if you like a guy like Amari Rodgers, right, this wide receiver out of Clemson that's getting some hype right now, he's an explosive slot receiver who can take snaps at running back. Javian Hawkins is the anti-Amari Rodgers because he's an explosive running back on the ground who can take snaps at wide receiver. I could see if he does go round 4 or 5 to a team like Jacksonville, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Denver, where he's going to be playing alongside another plotter back or first or second down bruiser back, and he can play the third down role, he's a guy I'll take a flyer on and try to sell for anything as soon as I can get any type of production, because what's holding him back is that he is so undersized. 4th percentile BMI. It's absolutely brutal. So you hate to see that as a long-term prospect and what he can do fantasy-wise. Guys like that just almost never hit. But I could see him fitting into a role, and who knows, if he develops a little bit, could command a decent target share in the NFL. So that's my other pick here. If I need a running back and I'm in the late 4th round, in these drafts, maybe even early 4th round, late 3rd round, Javian Hawkins. But Alex, let's shift away from some of the rookie talk. I think we didn't really dive too deep into some of the free agency moves because we were so in the weeds on these rookies, trying to dive deeper into the data, deeper into the profiles, read every single article that we could possibly find of guys developing models, seeing what the hit rates are at different levels for different prospects at different thresholds. But a recent move that just came out, we missed the train with like Will Fuller and Kenny Gall and all that, but Chase Edmonds, does he have any hype with James Conner now getting signed to play essentially the Kenyon Drake role in Arizona?
So you're asking me if Chase Edmonds, running back for the Arizona Cardinals, has more hype now that they have signed competition into the backfield?
Depends on what I always believe they were going to bring somebody in, whether it was through the draft, and they still might. We'll talk about that. To me, I love Chase Edmonds relative to his value, especially as like a late round redraft player. Last year, I was smashing him 10th, 11th, 12th round, that handcuff running back range in PPR leagues, because he is a high floor running back that you can plug into your RB2 spot with injuries and bye weeks. He's still in his prime at 25 years old, came into the league at 5'9", 205. For those of us still in that rookie prospect mindset right now, he's over that 200, that 202 threshold. He was taking 40% of that backfield last year with Kenyon Drake taking the other 60%. But when Drake was out, Chase Edmonds did take over 100% snap share. He was given 25 carries last year against Miami when Drake was out of the lineup. He was 6th at the position in targets and receiving yards, 7th in yards per touch. So he was super efficient through the air, averaged a solid 4.62 yards per carry, had 5 touchdowns, 850 yards from scrimmage. And I think Chase Edmonds can flirt with 1,000 total yards this season.
I mean, to me, I think Chase Edmonds is a good player, but to me, I am out. I wouldn't say I'm out on him in Dynasty because I was never really in, but I'm just not targeting him. I think he's fine. If he's my RB4 on a Dynasty roster and he's someone I can throw in my running back spot during a bye week, I'm thrilled about it. But to me, if you sold Chase Edmonds in the window before James Conner was signed, you probably got max value because he went from having the backfield a chance. I expected them to sign somebody as well. They still could draft somebody. I think most people expected them to bring in someone. But there for a while, there weren't a lot of names left on the free agent running back market. The Cardinals, they have a pick at 16, which seems too early to take a running back. Maybe they would have gotten Najee Harris or ETN, but unlikely. And then you're looking at a day 2 or a day 3 guy. So it looked like, who knows, maybe there's a chance Chase Edmonds can be a workhorse this year. And he went from that chance, that upside possibility, to now having competition. And this tells me more than anything, Cliff Kingsbury and that Cardinals management, no matter what the situation is never going to give Chase Edmonds a workhorse role. And I don't think we expected that. But before this James Conner signing, there was at least a chance that could happen. We saw a lot from Edmonds last year. Like you said, I think it's fantastic. I think he's a great player. But when I look at 2021, I think his role is going to be very similar. I don't think much changes in his outlook from 2020 to 2021, going from Kenyon Drake in that role to James Conner in that role. I think he's going to be an RB3, a pass-catching back. And whether or not you think James Conner is good doesn't matter because he was better than Kenyon Drake last season. So he had higher yards per carry. He had more receptions. He even played fewer games. So maybe that's the one argument. Like James Conner is injury prone. Yes, it'll be a similar situation for Edmonds as it was last season. But because Conner is injury prone, maybe Edmonds will have, 3, 4, 5 games where he's the workhorse back, which could be tremendous. And I'm not going to argue with that because we can't really predict injuries. But James Conner, Kenyon Drake, to me at this stage in their career, it's like interchangeable almost. So to me, I know the money was similar, but this isn't a Malcolm Brown to Miami signing. This isn't a Carlos Hyde to Jacksonville signing. Those are just depth pieces. And I know the money is similar, but James Conner at this point in his career is way better than Malcolm Brown. He's way better than Carlos Hyde. And they brought him in to play that Kenyon Drake role, where the other two guys they brought in to be a depth piece. So that's the difference in, Carlos Hyde to Jacksonville is great for James Robinson because that really shows me that he's not going to have competition. That's not the case here with James Conner to me. I think James Conner could get 150 to 200 carries, could get use on the goal line, could get some receptions as well. The Cardinals could still draft a guy. So that's why I'm not going out and buying Chase Edmonds. Maybe in redraft if people are fading this Cardinals backfield and I can pick him up as, like I said, that RB3, RB4 as a plug-in guy, perfectly fine. He'll have some upside if something were to happen to James Conner. But to me, I think this is bad for Chase Edmonds in the long run.
So Kenyon Drake was dealing with his own injuries last year too, but James Conner hasn't seen a pop like Kenyon Drake saw in that back half of 2019 when he first came to Arizona from Miami. James Conner hasn't seen a pop like that since 2018 when he took over for Le'Veon Bell in the most pass-happy offense of all time.
Yeah, but I mean, Kenyon Drake wasn't doing that last season, and that seems like the Chase Edmonds we're talking about. So Kenyon Drake didn't have any pop last season at all. So if we're really going to compare year over year, 2020 to 2021, I don't see a lot of differences in their game. I mean, they both were fairly bland in terms of running. They were okay as pass catchers, didn't make a ton of pop plays. If there was a wide open hole, they could run through it. But as far as the play style and where they are in their career, James Conner and Kenyon Drake seems like a 1-to-1 swap to me.
So James Conner's deal, it's a 1-year, $1.75 million deal. All of it's guaranteed. To me, that's saying, look, we know you're probably going to get hurt, James Conner. And James Conner, I'm actually one of the least likely people to say a guy's injury prone.
Yeah.
I was never in on that narrative with Dalvin Cook, and a bunch of people were fading him. You have people that are like saying that, Derrick Henry's bound to get hurt because he's taking all these carries. Like, yes, but I'm one of the last people to say that. But James Conner, like, it can't be ignored how much time this guy's missed and how much he's burned fantasy rosters. We can even look at week 1 in 2020. He came in, had 2 attempts, tweaked his ankle, and was out for the rest of the game. And then you got Benny Snell coming in. So you get the super long injury history with Conner, and it's pretty extensive. I did the math. I think it's something like he missed like 30%. It was like 27.89% of total possible games that he could have played. He's had multiple quadriceps injuries and contusions. He's had ankle sprains. He's had shoulder, AC joint sprains. He's had knee sprains, ankle sprains. He's had a concussion. That's the appeal with Chase Edmonds, because inevitably, like, James Conner's going to get hurt. He's never played all 16 games. The most games he's played in a season is 13.
Yeah.
And that was early on in his career. So from that perspective, that's why I like Chase Edmonds. And for his value, I don't think there's a guy that you're going to take that has as much of an injury prone. And I hate throwing that out there because I do think it's overused a ton. But James Conner is actually one of the few guys who's extremely injury prone. Maybe Rashad Penny is the next guy who's cut from this cloth, and Rashad Penny's getting a lot of hype because Chris Carson always gets hurt. So that's where I think Edmonds can come in and play that workhorse role multiple times this season. And while his dynasty stock probably didn't change too much, I like Chase Edmonds in redraft as a guy who can just plug those holes on my roster, especially in deeper leagues, keeper leagues, 14-team leagues, the type of leagues that you and I play in.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really fair assessment, and I think we're coming at it from different angles, but we're in agreement for the most part that from a dynasty perspective, value is probably similar to where it was, pre-Kenyon Drake departure. From a redraft perspective, very interesting though, some of those points you made. I do think, saying so-and-so always gets hurt, and this is why this guy's going to be good is like, I know that wasn't the approach you're trying to take, and inevitably it does happen to these guys. Like we say, oh, don't say that's going to happen. But then yet Chris Carson is hurt another time. Odell Beckham Jr. is hurt yet again. James Conner is hurt yet again. So no, I don't want to rely on that as the basis of a decision that I'm going to make. And I know you don't either. But to that point, Chase Edmonds this year in redraft could be the Kareem Hunt of last year, a guy that I love taking as my RB3. If, the starter for Kareem Hunt, it was Nick Chubb. In this case, I mean, it's kind of a split. Chase Edmonds, James Conner are going to split time. If James Conner's healthy, Chase Edmonds is a great RB3. He's a guy that can be started. You can get some productive weeks out of him as a flex or a plug-in guy. But if something were to ever happen to that other guy in the backfield with Kareem Hunt, it was Nick Chubb last season. And now with Chase Edmonds, it's James Conner. If something were to happen to James Conner and he were to miss time, your solid RB3 turns into a high-end RB2 or a low-end RB1. So from that perspective, I like the argument because, yes, Chase Edmonds will have value. And if an injury happens to James Conner, I'm not going to sit here and say I expect it, but you always have that opportunity. If something happens, Chase Edmonds could have some upside in redraft formats for 2021. So I'll give you that.
He's my favorite handcuff running back right now.
He's that high value handcuff. It's
maybe not Tony Pollard, but he's right there with him to me. And you add in the fact that we're getting 17 games this season.
Sure.
Could change some of the durability on some of these guys who can't stay healthy. Like, that's just another game now that these guys have the potential to miss and have another player step in. All right, so let's shift back to a rookie that, Alex, I was surprised. I went back through a bunch of our episodes. We never talked about this player. Outside of the first round rookie mock that we did, we never talked about Kyle Pitts.
Wow.
Who's like one of the most exciting prospects in this entire draft. A lot of folks think he's going to go 4th overall to the Atlanta Falcons because the top 3 picks are going to be quarterbacks. The draft really starts this year after those first 3 picks because we know what those are going to be. Alex, in our super flex leagues, where are you taking Kyle Pitts? Because I've seen folks have him at the 105, 106, right after Jamar Chase. And I've also seen him towards the back of the first, behind Rashad Bateman, behind Devontae Smith. So where's Pitts for you, and where do you feel comfortable taking Kyle Pitts?
To me, right now, there's no way he's going to crack my top 4. Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields at quarterback, I'm taking over Pitts. Najee Harris and Travis Etienne, I'm taking over Kyle Pitts because running back scarcity, and I think both of those guys are supremely talented. But after that, it's a toss-up. And I think in my rankings, Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase will be 5-6. Now, the order of which one I think I would prefer to take first is going to depend a little bit on landing spot. But for Kyle Pitts, there's not really any landing spots that I hate, just some that I prefer over others. I would love to see him go to Cincinnati with Joe Burrow. I would love to see him go to Atlanta, like you mentioned, both pass-happy offenses, good quarterback play, space to feature a tight end in their system. So there are spots that I like. Even if he goes to like a Philadelphia, a Miami with more unproven quarterbacks, I think he'll be the focal point of those offenses because of just the freak athlete that he is. So there's no landing spot I hate. I think the lowest I'll have him in my Superflex rookie rankings after the draft is likely number 6, maybe number 7. If we see some crazy, draft capital from, Javonte Williams, or if San Francisco gets really rowdy at the 3rd overall pick. So I think 7 is as low as I would go on Pitts, and the highest is 5. He's going to be steadily in that range for me because I think compared to a lot of the other prospects in this draft, he's fairly landing spot. What's the opposite of landing spot dependent? He's not landing spot dependent at all.
He's landing spot proof.
He's landing spot independent because he can go wherever he wants and he's going to be good. So, and the reason being for that, it just comes down to the scarcity at the position. And I get why a lot of people, me and you have talked about this a ton in the past, fade these tight ends in dynasty leagues because it's like you're never really going to get a guy that moves the needle at the position. You have the top. We hear about it all the time. You got the top 3, and then there's the difference between 3 and 4 is the same difference between 4 and tight end 18 or whatever the stat is. Because you just have all these guys that are replacement level. The Jonnu Smiths, the Hunter Henrys, the Evan Ingrams. You can pick someone up, maybe not in a dynasty league, but you can find guys on waivers in leagues and just throw them in your tight end spot, and you're hoping for the same thing. But if you get those top guys, it can just be such an advantage. And with Kyle Pitts, you're not drafting him to be one of those middle tier tight ends. You're drafting him to be in that upper echelon elite tight end tier. And Steph, knowing that most of the time, unless you have a Kelsey or a Kittle or a Waller, you're starting like a Noah Fant or a Jonnu Smith or a Dallas Goedert at tight end. How nice would it be if you could start DK Metcalf at tight end? What if you could start Justin Jefferson or AJ Brown in your tight end slot? Think about how
I see where you're going with this.
Think about how much of an advantage that would give you being able to start one of these stud wide receivers, because there's plenty of wide receivers that are good to go around, and you can put them in your tight end spot and plug someone else in your flex and you'll be fine. Well, that's what Darren Waller brought to the table last season. Averaged 17.4 fantasy points per game, right? Plus or minus 0.2 fantasy points of DK Metcalf, of Justin Jefferson, of AJ Brown. So if you had Darren Waller last season, you were essentially starting Justin Jefferson in your tight end spot. What an advantage. And that is what Kyle Pitts is being drafted to be. That's his upside. That's the hope for a prospect of his caliber, of his measurables, of his talent. And if you're drafting Kyle Pitts at 5, 6, or 7, like I've talked about, the expectation is that he's going to slide into that top tier tight ends sooner rather than later. And I really believe he will. So That is why I have him in front of some of those other guys.
I like hearing your perspective on it, because I'm a little bit more reserved when it comes to Kyle Pitts because of just my risk tolerance. I don't think there's a true right or wrong answer. I think it does come down to two things, which are roster construction and risk tolerance. When you're in these rookie drafts, for me, I have Pitts at the 109. That's right ahead of Devonta Smith and Rashad Bateman. You're hoping Pitts beats the odds, joins that group of 4 other tight ends in year one. It's going to be tough because we know tight ends typically struggle as rookies or get hurt because it's one of the most physical and technical positions on the field. We do know Pitts will hold value after year one. But just based on everything we've seen from recent tight ends coming into the NFL, I know that's a fallacy, right? Because we're looking back historically, but that's all we really can do. Is it more likely that Kyle Pitts is the next Rob Gronkowski or Travis Kelce, or is this just another TJ Hawkinson or Noah Fant? And that's where I view Kyle Pitts. So I'm not drafting him at his ceiling. I'm drafting him at, really for a lot of people, his floor. Now, his floor could be lower than Hawkinson and Fant, but I think that's still a good thing because both Hawkinson and Fant were not monster producers as rookies. They were both super athletic for the tight end position. Hawkinson was taken 8th overall, which is about where we think Pitts will go unless he goes to Atlanta. Fant was a first-round pick, taken 20th overall by Denver. In a non-tight end premium league, you can get away with just one of these guys on your roster. Alex, you know I'm a big TJ Hawkinson guy. And something I have seen with Kyle Pitts is the Vernon Davis comp. Because when you look at Kyle Pitts' measurables, they're all 99 or 100th percentile. That's just exactly what Vernon Davis has as well. Vernon Davis is 6'3", 250 coming into the league. Kyle Pitts is 6'6", 245. And I do love the comp, but Vernon Davis, 10 years in the league, you got to love him, but it took him 4 years to break out. In 2009, he had a monster season with the 49ers, 15.8 fantasy points per game. That was his best season. And then throughout his entire career, only had 2 seasons where he averaged more than 12 fantasy points per game. Now, that's fine for the tight end position. That's actually great for the tight end position. But for the opportunity cost of taking Pitts top 5, top 6 in a rookie draft, that's a little bit too rich for me. And I don't want a tight end who averages 12 fantasy points or less sitting there clogging up my roster for years and years and years. But I got to say, that ceiling with Pitts is so appealing. It's going to be hard not to take him when you're sitting there in the middle of the first.
From an athletic profile standpoint, I mean, he's just about dead on with Noah Fant. You see these 97, 98, 99th percentile and just about any kind of athletic measurable you can find. And we see where Noah Fant is. We still have hope for a breakout, but it's taken him some time. And he's been okay, but he's right there in that middling tier of tight ends. And to your point, if Kyle Pitts is going to be a Noah Fant, at least the Noah Fant we've seen to this point in his career, 105, 106 is going to be a little rich. So it just comes down to what you believe. And to me, I do think Kyle Pitts is going to be better than a Noah Fant. And again, that's why that landing spot is going to have some sort of impact on where I'm taking him, because yes, a Jamar Chase is more of a sure thing. Yes, a Javonte Williams or even one of the quarterbacks could be in play in the middle of the first round as well. But for Kyle Pitts, if he gets that great landing spot, that's where I'm going to take him at 105. And if he does get a landing spot that's not quite as appealing, I still believe in the talent enough to think that he's going to get it done in his NFL career. But if the landing spot is a little bit disappointing, I'm not going to bump him that far down my rankings, because like you and I always say, Steph, talent comes number one, draft capital and landing spot are 2 and 3. We know he's going to get the draft capital. We know he has the talent. And that's why the landing spot, to me, for a guy as talented as Kyle Pitts is, both on his film and in his analytics.
So let's break down the Atlanta landing spot. I know you hinted at it a little bit already, but that's where he's mocked to go by big media. That's the best viable landing spot that I see on the surface right now. Who knows once teams are on the clock if they start moving these picks. But Hayden Hurst is there at tight end in Atlanta. He's a fine role player. But then you got 32-year-old Julio Jones on a pass-happy offense. Atlanta ownership's already come out and said, like Arthur Blank said on an interview with NFL Network, that Matt Ryan is going to be their guy for the next couple of years. He's still on a big contract. His exact quote was, "I'd be completely shocked if he was not on the Falcons next year. Matt has played at a very high level for us. Him and Drew Brees are the only quarterbacks in the history of the NFL that have thrown for more than 4,000 yards over a 10-year period of time consistently." So, like, the Falcons are all in on Matt Ryan still. And I think they're still all in on Julio Jones. So it's a pretty appealing landing spot, to be honest with you. I like it. If he goes to Atlanta, then I think we should have him over Hawkinson and Fant right away, day one.
100%. He's already up there.
And then you have Detroit picking at 7. Good news is they already have a top 10 draft pick at tight end with Hawkinson. Then we have Philly. Seems like Dallas Goedert's the one taking the mantle at tight end. Zach Ertz is still technically there, but that team has so many other needs, particularly at wide receiver. And then, Alex, the concern that Pitts would be moved to a wide receiver, that has a lot of implications for our fantasy rosters. I think it is very real. But I think that comes down to landing spot and more so the personnel grouping than necessarily like the coaching. So like if he does go to Atlanta, who knows? Like I don't think he's going to get moved over to wide receiver because he's going to overtake Hurst in year one. They already have Ridley, Julio, and Gage, who's a fine role player there as a wide receiver 3. But if he goes to, let's say, Denver.
He's not going to Denver because the Noah Fant, conversation we just had. But Carolina at 8 could be in play.
That'd be a great landing spot. What about the New York Giants at 11? That's a team that has a young tight end in place, but Pitts could come in there and play a dual tight end wide receiver role beside Evan Ingram. They could put him out wide. He can play receiver. And I've heard a lot of folks say, like the film grinders out there, I follow them. I listen to some trusted guys in the community. They say if Kyle Pitts was a wide receiver, he'd be the best wide receiver in this class.
Ooh.
So I don't know how much, I haven't done my due diligence to really say that, but that's not a death sentence if he does get pushed over to a wide receiver position long term.
No, it does hurt the value, certainly, because of the whole conversation we had earlier about, like, imagine getting to play some of these elite wide receivers at the tight end spot. That's what you're hoping for in a Kyle Pitts. And I don't really know the criteria for, like, how many times do you have to be attached to the line to be a tight end or split out wide or whatever it is. But a lot of tight ends in today's NFL seem like they're split out wide quite frequently. I mean, Travis Kelce lines up attached. George Kittle lines up attached a lot of the time, but they're split out wide. They're in the slot very, very consistently. So if Kyle Pitts is even maintaining, a third of his snaps attached to the line, I would think he's still going to be classified as a tight end. I don't see him being moved to wide receiver, but to your point, you never know. And one more thing, to the Atlanta Falcons landing spot, there's a reason why Younghoe Koo led the NFL in field goals made last season. It's because the Falcons couldn't finish drives. So put Kyle Pitts and his wingspan in the red zone. We've heard all about Julio Jones and his touchdown problem for years. Throw Kyle Pitts on that offense. He's a double-digit touchdown guy as a rookie You heard it here first.
Whoa, hot takes. Perfect note to end on. If you guys like the show, a like and a sub, always appreciated. Hop in our Discord channel. Sign up for our email updates so you never miss a thing here in this fantasy season. We appreciate y'all listening and watching, and we'll see you next time. Peace.